Hello, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, the American presidential candidates make some new promises to Israel. Israel's ultra-orthodox community fights for stricter laws on the Sabbath, and we'll reveal why Israeli baseball fans are so excited. I'm Natasha Kirchek here with the latest news in Israel. The first 2016 American presidential debate is going to be held later tonight, but right before their latest attempts to convince the American people to vote for them, it seems as if both candidates are trying their best to get support from the Israeli Prime Minister. Republican nominee Donald Trump went first by hosting the visiting Prime Minister at his glittering residence in the Trump Tower on New York's Fifth Avenue. The two discussed the nuclear deal with Iran, the battle against ISIS, and other regional concerns. Particular emphasis was placed on the security fence Israel built to prevent the infiltration of Palestinian terrorists, which the GOP candidate has often mentioned would be a successful model for the border wall he wants to put between the U.S. and Mexico. Trump went on to oppose any kind of a UN-imposed peace treaty with the Palestinians, but the pinnacle of the hour-and-a-half meeting was no doubt when he vowed that during a Trump presidency, Washington would finally recognize Jerusalem as the undivided capital of the State of Israel. Next, during Netanyahu's talks with Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee stressed that a strong and secure Israel is vital to the United States, and reaffirmed her unwavering commitment to the relationship. During the hour-long meeting, Clinton vowed to counter any efforts to delegitimize Israel, including the BDS movement. She also stressed her support for the military aid package the two nations just signed, and said she wants to boost defense and intelligence cooperation even further. As far as Iran, she promises to work closely with Israel to ensure Tehran honors the 2015 nuclear pact, and to combat Iran's support of terrorism against the Jewish state. Turning to the Palestinians, Clinton voiced backing for a two-state solution negotiated by the two parties, and not an outside organization like the UN Security Council. For his part, Netanyahu is said to have thanked both candidates for their friendship and continued support of the Jewish state. Israeli officials stress that neither of the meetings were meant to interfere with American politics, nor indicate support for either of the contenders. The Israeli leader has often repeated that he looks forward to working with whomever is elected by the American people. Israel may be known as the United Jewish Homeland, but that doesn't mean there aren't internal conflicts among the Jewish population. Israel's ultra-Orthodox community is now demanding all Israeli businesses to observe the Jewish Sabbath, even though many secular Jews feel such religious law will infringe on their freedoms. The Jewish Sabbath, known as Shabbat, takes place every week between sunset on Friday and sunset on Saturday. And it's during this prime weekend time that Israel's Orthodox community wants Israeli businesses to close up shop. Shabbat is supposed to be the day of rest for the Jewish people, a holy time in which hardworking Jews must refrain from work activities. Many ultra-Orthodox Jews feel that keeping businesses open on such a holy day is a crime, because it prevents Israelis from truly resting.
כשאדם פותח בשבת הוא מעניש את עצמו, הוא מעניש את אשתו, הוא מעניש את הילדים שלו, הוא מעניש גם את העובדים שלו, והוא מעניש גם את אלו שלא יכולים להתקבל אצלו בעבודה, כי הם רוצים לנוח יום אחד בשבוע. וזה עוד לא הכל. האדם הזה גם מעניש את העסקים שלידו, שלהם יש ברירה, או לפתוח בשבת, ואז הם מפסידים לעצמם, לילדים, למשפחה, לעובדים ולאלו שלא יכולים להתקבל אצלם לעבודה, או לא לפתוח בשבת, ואז שהשכן שלהם יגנוב להם את כל הקליינטורה. אז בואו נדבר על הערך החברתי. כשאדם פותח בשבת, הוא עושה פשע חברתי.
Yet secular Jews running businesses in Israel feel that they should be allowed to remain open, because their beliefs do not necessarily align with those of the ultra-Orthodox community.
I think that the dominance of the religious parties make it very difficult for us to be tolerant. I think people should be more tolerant. I think about half of the city is interested in going out, sitting with your family, have a cup of coffee, see a film if you feel like it. And people prevent it, and that makes many people very angry.
Cities and regional councils are given the option of drafting bylaws which regulate which businesses may remain open on Shabbat, and they have the jurisdiction to penalize those that violate the municipal laws with modest fines. Generally, local authorities don't usually enforce these bylaws, but over the last week, Jerusalem's municipality has already charged 8 grocery store owners with violating Shabbat laws. This is largely because of the increasing sway of the ultra-Orthodox community in the city, which has increased by 5% over the last decade. Today, the ultra-Orthodox make up a third of the Israeli population, but many believe they shouldn't be calling the shots when it comes to the state of businesses on Shabbat.
אני חושבת שאנחנו, הקואליציה בעצם באה לתת קול לאנשים שחיים פה ורוצים להישאר לחיות פה. שיהיה להם מקום, וברגע שלא תהיה להם אפשרות לבלות, או באלמה, או במקומות אחרים, ולא יהיה להם אירועים כמו שיש כאן, הם לא ירגישו בבית, והם ימצאו את עצמם מחוץ לירושלים. והמטרה שלנו היא שהם יישארו כאן והם ירגישו בבית.
Earlier this month, the ultra-Orthodox community ignited what many have been calling the Shabbat War, when railway station construction and maintenance was forced to be suspended on a Saturday after complaints from religious parties in the government coalition. As a result, construction was moved to the middle of the Israeli work week, causing an entire traffic meltdown in the center of the country and forcing the government to pay massive amounts of money to organize a special bus route for commuters in need. Now it looks like the ultra-Orthodox community has its eyes set on controlling Israeli businesses during the Sabbath, so secular Israelis will have to fight back to support their own religious freedoms.
Well, I think that there needs to be a bit of freedom so that people can enjoy certain products on Saturday, but also respecting what is set in the land as far as those that believe everything needs to be closed. So there's a delicate balance that needs to be played out here. And for instance, just a juice station at the end of a walkway shouldn't cause any problem.
Professor Harold Rode formerly served as an Islamist affairs advisor to the U.S. Department of Defense between 1982 and 2010. The prominent Middle East expert was even studying in Iran at the time of the Islamist Revolution back in 1979 and is fluent in Farsi. ILTV's Aaron Viner asked Professor Rode for his insight into how Tehran views last year's nuclear agreement, as well as the Islamic Republic's core beliefs about the United States and Israel.
When there was a time of the Americans versus the Soviets, there was something called MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction. Neither side wanted to use nuclear weapons because it would be assured that the other side would kill them. For the present regime in Iran, it's the opposite. It's an inducement. The battle from an Iranian point of view is who has the right type of Islam, Shiite, which what the rulers of Iran are, or Sunnis. Now for us, this battle started, by the way, 1,400 years ago. For us, bygones be bygones, leave the past and deal with the future, deal with the present. Not in the Middle East. There's no such thing as letting bygones be bygones. And so the Iranian government is trying to use whatever it has to go over the heads of the Sunni rulers in the Arab world to say, we're the ones who are going to destroy Israel. Israel is your issue. We don't really care about. The truth is that the Shiites don't care about Jerusalem. It's a Sunni innovation. It's not holy from a Shiite point of view. The Shiites hate Jerusalem. Now, if that's the case, why does the Iranian government, why is it so concerned about Jerusalem? It's really simple. The Iranian government is trying to take the issues of most concern to the Sunnis, and Jerusalem is to the Sunnis, and take those issues and steal them, steal the agenda. And if it wins, and if it can destroy Israel with a nuclear bomb, then it's very clear that they're showing the rest of the Muslim world that our way, the Shiite way, is the right way, and the Sunni way is wrong. This sounds esoteric to us, but this is exactly what is going on in the war between the Iranian government and the rest of the Shiite world. You asked about the agreement that Obama signed with the Iranians. In the Middle East, written agreements mean nothing. They are nothing more than a step on the way to achieve one's goals. the Iranian government violated instantly the agreement, if there is one. We have no one has ever really seen the conditions or what's in that agreement. So no one really knows. What we do know is what has been publicized in English and Persian, Farsi, the language of Iran. The Iranian one is 3 times as long. And Iran makes no commitments in the Iranian version. It is all passive voice. It is thought that if this happens, this will be done. It doesn't say by whom. The English language one says exactly what it is. What has really happened from an Iranian point of view and a Middle Eastern point of view is that Obama has submitted to the will of the Iranian government. And everything that the Iranians have done to violate this agreement in the meantime is looked upon, and Obama says, oh, it doesn't matter. That is understood in the Middle East as American giving in. As the great Professor Bernard Lewis, who's 100 years old now, says, America has proven that it is a harmless enemy and an unreliable ally. And that is why so many of the Sunni Muslim Arab leaders have such a good relationship with the state of Israel. They can no longer rely on Obama's American leadership. And they're looking to someone who's strong. And Israel is strong. Israel keeps getting stronger. Israel knows what it is. It knows what it stands for. In spite of all the craziness that goes on in here in Israel, this is a country dedicated to Israeli Jewish values. And Israel stands up for what it believes. And the surrounding Arab leaders know this. And that is why they are working so well with the Israelis today.
The boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement may be working hard to delegitimize Israel, but others are working just as hard to counter their campaign. Now, the governor of California has just signed a new bill into law, making it illegal for any company in the U.S. state of California to discriminate against Israel and any other sovereign state for that matter. The Senate approved the bill in late August after receiving overwhelming support in both the state Senate and the state Assembly. The bill has only now been signed into law after undergoing several revisions. Now businesses must certify that they aren't violating California civil rights laws by boycotting any foreign countries. Israel, however, was the only nation to be mentioned by name. The head of the American Jewish Committee's Los Angeles bureau is hailing the move, saying the bill sends the clear and unmistakable message that the state of California wants no part of the goals and tactics of the BDS movement by discriminating against Jews or Israelis. Meanwhile, in Spain, a Palma de Mallorca court has just issued an injunction, freezing a decision by Ibiza to boycott Israel. The city council of Santa Eulalia attempted to place limitations on doing business with Israel in July, but the new ruling claims such attempts are a breach of national non-discrimination and equality legislation. This is the 9th restraining order Spanish courts have issued against a boycott campaign, following legal actions filed by a local pro-Israel lobbying group called ACOM. There have also been 13 separate decisions handed down by judges throughout the country, declaring that such boycotts violate basic constitutional rights. Israel is known to be the land of milk and honey, but what does that have to do with combating BDS? A lot, according to our next guest, Eli Shor. He's the owner of Haken Winery, a family business that's been exporting the best Israeli wine products to the world since 1848, and he's here to tell us about how his company is combating BDS. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, and shalom.
So you've been around for a very long time, 1848. How did your winery start?
It started as a small business. The family needed more income to the house, so they opened a small winery, and then Jewish people started to make aliyah to Israel, and the small business grew to a big winery.
Now, you have a special connection to the Israeli land. Tell us about that.
Actually, we do wine here almost 170 years. I'm the 6th generation. The 7th generation already run in the vineyards and in the cellars, so we feel connected to the soil more than more as a Jewish people, more as a people of the land.
Yeah, and that's a long time because, Israel isn't necessarily known for its wine, and that's beginning to change, right? So, in a way, you're combating BDS by providing these products to the world, no?
Yeah, I think that we make in Israel very unique wines. This is for start. Very unique, with very unique taste and rich, full of flavors. So this is the first. The second thing is the politics. But what I see now, after around 1 or 2 years of fight, that actually the buyers keep buying our wines. So maybe after all it's about taste, because we make here in Israel not only our winery, all the wineries make very, very good wines. We get prizes around the world and medals. So after all, when people want to buy something, they search for good taste and good quality.
And there's something to say about the packaging as well, because as you guys can see, these are beautifully bottled wines. It's very unique. See both of the wines we have here. Now, tell me, are you succeeding in the international market? I understand that things are changing and people do appreciate the Israeli wine, but what about your vineyard specifically?
What we see is that we have down in the European market, but in the upper end we have the American market. And the American market hug us and just buy more and more and more wine. And our agent, the first thing when he saw our name in the list of the BDS, first thing he rang me a phone call and twice the next order. I will sell it, no problem. And he do that, and it's made.
So BDS hasn't. I mean, when you say your name was on a list, can you explain that?
Yeah, it was a list of producers. There are in some areas in Israel that they ask people to boycott their products. One of the wineries or factories in the list was our family winery.
Wow.
Just for an idea, our permit to produce wine in Israel get from the Turkish in 1848. I'm a little bit complicated because I'm here in that land almost 200 years. A lot of the Palestinians here the same time like me. My family had a permit from the Turkish, from the Ottoman government to produce wine. So why I cannot produce wine in Ma'ale Adumim now? I can do it 170 years ago. Why to boycott me?
Well, I mean, it certainly shows some issues with the BDS movement and, the businesses that it's targeting, because clearly you guys have been around for a very long time. You're not a new business necessarily. It's interesting, what do you think the future holds for businesses like your own that are in these conflicted territories but have been around for generations? Do you think this is going to stop you, the BDS movement as a whole, from being able to get your product out to the world?
I don't think so. And actually, the Israeli market inside, they're growing inside. So I really don't see the future so bad because of the BDS movement. It's like a curious, something that come and go. And
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it looks like you guys are creating a delicious product. I'm going to have to try some of this myself later on. And if you're interested in learning more about the winery, you can check it out online. We have the link below. Baseball may not be a very popular sport in Israel, but now it has reason to be. The Jewish state has just become the final team to qualify for next year's World Baseball Classic tournament. This means Israel will now make its first ever appearance at the major baseball event after beating out Great Britain on Sunday in Brooklyn. ILTV's Eli Wogelenter was there and has the scoop.
5 Team Israel pitchers combined to limit Britain to 4 hits. And 3 members of the blue and white hit the first home runs of the tournament over the wall to lead Israel to victory and a place in the World Baseball Classic main tournament for the first time.
And how do you like the game?
It's good.
Who are you rooting for?
Israel.
Who are you rooting for?
Israel.
And who are you rooting for?
Israel.
Who are you rooting for?
The Mets.
The Mets? They're not playing here tonight.
Fine, Israel.
Starter Jason Marquis pitched 4 perfect innings, and winning pitcher Josh Zeid threw 3 innings of no-hit relief. In fact, Great Britain did not have a base runner until Zeid issued a walk with 1 out in the 7th inning, and they didn't have a hit until there were 2 outs in the 8th.
I was thinking that maybe laying down a bunt on the first pitch, and then I realized the third baseman came in, and that's not a good idea for me anymore. So I swung away, and I got a good pitch to hit. Felt great.
What did he throw? What were you looking for?
Looking for a heater, and he left it up in the zone, so felt great.
The team said the tournament wasn't just about baseball. The players were proud to represent Israel and understood how important it was for the Jewish fans.
For me, I was more proud to be Jewish and representing Israel and see the kids in the stands than I've ever been. It was a really great experience to hear Israel chanted and to kind of feel the pride that I saw in the little kids, because that's not a thing you see very often. Is little Jewish boys in yarmulkes cheering for Jewish athletes. So I think a goal of the team coming in was to raise awareness for baseball in Israel and to raise some funding, maybe build some more fields, get some coaches out there, and try to grow the game of baseball in Israel. And I think we started doing that.
Israel was a perfect 3-0 in the tournament, having beaten the British side 5-2 last Thursday when they rallied for 4 runs in the 7th inning. They then beat Brazil 1-0 on Friday in a pitcher's duel to move into the final. Israel had come into the tournament dreaming about redeeming themselves after the loss that eliminated them in 2012. Now the dream has come true. Israel has exorcised the demons that have haunted them since they lost to Spain 4 years ago. Israel now goes on to South Korea, where it will play Korea, Taipei, and the Netherlands. Should it win there, it goes on to Japan. If they win that tournament, it's on to Los Angeles for the semifinals. For ILTV, this is Eli Wogelanter.
Repeat after me.
Okay.
אנחנו על המפה גם בבייסבול.
Boom. Nailed it.
More than 270 multinational companies from across the globe have already established a presence in Israel, which is renowned for its cutting-edge technologies and innovation. So it comes as no surprise that China is now looking to deepen its business ties to the Jewish state in an effort to preserve its competitive advantage as the world's second-largest economy. Right now, the Israeli Ministry of Economy and Industry is preparing to launch the second China-Israel Investment Summit of 2016, from September 24th to the 26th. It's hosting the event in Tel Aviv with the private equity fund called the Infinity Group, which is backed by the China Development Bank and Israel's CLAL Industries. The idea is to facilitate greater financial opportunities between leading Chinese venture capital firms, private investors, and companies who are anxious to connect with hundreds of Israel's most promising startup and technology companies. Chinese investment in Israel is expected to hit an all-time high of at least $500 million by the end of this year. And everyone expects that number to continue to rise. We've already seen a steady increase in Chinese acquisitions of Israeli companies over the past couple of years, and now it seems that Chinese investors and multinationals are intent on establishing an ever more diverse presence, with joint R&D and advanced manufacturing projects here on the ground. Israel is making this as inviting as possible by offering extremely attractive incentives, such as significant tax breaks and even grants. Organizers say they believe the upcoming China-Israel summit will be an even greater success than the first, which was held in Beijing last January and garnered proposed investment that topped $1 billion. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Israelis around the country are celebrating because for the first time ever, Israel's baseball team will be competing in the World Baseball Classic. So today's word is hakafa, which means home run in Hebrew. The Israeli team beat out Great Britain on Sunday with 3 hakafot, or home runs, and it's fair to say that wasn't by coincidence. According to the famous American sportscaster Harry Carey, you hit hakafot not by chance, but rather by preparation. So don't be afraid of striking out. Every strike brings you closer to the next home run. After all, you could strike out all day long and win the game with just 1 hakafa. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tuesday is expected to be partly cloudy with a high of 82 degrees. The weather should stay about the same through Wednesday, but the temperature will go up to 83. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.76 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to check out our next update at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and see you tonight.